Okay, so we are live and welcome to this week's episode of Startup Weekly. This week I am joined by Catherine Yushina, who is the head of operations at Soar.sh, a marketing services agency for growing startups. Soar helps digital companies grow faster with marketing through Reddit, Quora, and SEO authority building. Catherine, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. This is
Yeah, it's
exciting.
a pleasure. It's a pleasure. So, maybe just to kick things off, can you give us a bit of an overview about yourself and what got you involved with SOAR and how it all came to be, I guess, you know?
Sure. Kind of my background is a little bit backwards. I started in venture capital, then quit my job, went into
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurship, specifically fintech, then blockchain. So I also was a mentor in a few accelerators and advisor to startups in
Mm-hmm.
different niches. So the recurring thing that I kept seeing was, a lot of these amazing entrepreneurs, they know how to build things
Mm-hmm.
and, they know how to create amazing new innovative solutions to real, problems that we see in the market, but majority of them fall in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the times it's not their fault per se, because we're constantly read and we're told that, oh, you just launch Facebook ads, or you just build a Facebook community, or you
Mm-hmm.
just start a Twitter. But the challenge is that nowadays, especially, the market is the social media is so saturated, there's so much noise.
Mm-hmm.
And then talk about Google ads or Facebook ads, we're all competing with big companies with huge budgets
Mm-hmm.
for exact same keywords. So how can a startup, break through this noise? That's why we're seeing, more community basing, building focus right now. And
Mm-hmm.
then, in 2020, we had to close our blockchain business because of COVID. And, I was looking for my next move and got connected to the team at Soar, and I fell in love with their culture. They're fully remote team. They're so kind of passionate about what they do,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
their focus has been from day one is how can we help entrepreneurs on these beginning stages
Mm-hmm.
where we can become that launch pad, we can empower them to get discovered, to start building
Mm-hmm.
community. And that resonated with me because that's the biggest pain point, like personally my pain point in a lot of the companies I was with, right? So yeah, the cultural fit on top of the fact that this was really exciting,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the fact that they focus on not your traditional marketing. It's not, another agency that does marketing on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
or, will launch your Twitter or email campaign. It's like, who
Yeah.
really reads emails anymore?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, how many newsletters can you have? So yeah, that was exciting because I felt like this is an interesting new direction for marketing overall.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are we overlooking all of these channels?
Mm-hmm. You brought up an interesting point there, and I think it's something we've seen recently ourselves with, let's say, tech entrepreneurs who might be developers as well. They might be more tech savvy than business or marketing savvy. And I think people will often build a product and hope people will want to use it. But like you said, they're missing that link of really getting it out to market. And it's something we're trying to do with Startup Sanctuary as well, where you need to have a strategy or you need to have that go to market route for getting eyeballs on the product. So is that kind of really what you specialize in? And is that a trend that you're seeing as well?
Yeah, so that's something, when I joined SOAR, the focus more was on companies that already have some sort of product market fit. They definitely have a product, they might have initial clients, and now they just want to augment that. They want to grow. But to be able
Mm-hmm.
to do that, like, where do they go? And Reddit, the front page of the internet, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many communities, and then knowing how to approach these communities or building an authority on Quora, all those are really great things, as well as properly doing SEO authority building. Not just your usual, oh, twig this, make sure you have that, but actually creating, how do you grow those backlinks? It's not as easy. It's so easy to say. And if you read any of these like growth hacking one-on-one, or this is your
Mm-hmm.
all-in-one playbook,
Mm-hmm.
they all say the same thing, but none of them really help you, execute on it or explain how exactly you can execute on it. How can you find these, domains that will be happy to backlink you, but that won't harm your rating with Google.
Mhm.
All of these things. And that was the goal. And now we're also focusing on kind of addressing wider, like, what is the goal of this particular startup at this stage? Are you trying to test your segments?
Mhm.
Are you trying to grow? Are you trying to find a niche? Are you trying to start building community? So all of these things that we can help with,
Mhm.
depending on your goal, by using these overlooked channels.
So can we dive into that a little bit more maybe? What does that look like from a services perspective? Like what is the maybe the most popular service that you are helping startups with right now?
Yeah, the most popular one is Reddit marketing, where,
Okay.
a lot of startups just don't even know how to use the platform or how to post and start genuine conversations without getting banned or without being, kind of flagged as promotional, because they're all try to do the same thing they do at Facebook, right? They're like, oh, look at us. This is, what we do. While not realizing that Reddit communities are all about creating value and, spiking a discussion, right?
Sure.
You want to
Sometimes you
start
don't
that
get that impression
conversation.
from them, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There are real people there on the
Yeah,
platform, and
for
they'll
sure.
definitely let you know how they feel about it. But that's the reality too, and I feel like that's also a healthy it's also a healthy part of it, right? Because as an entrepreneur, you don't want to hear always like, oh, this is great. That's not useful feedback, right?
Yeah.
You actually want to hear somebody question, some aspect of it, because that will tell you, what might be wrong or where you might be a little bit off in your assumptions. Or, like, they'll bring up something that you haven't heard of, like a potential competitor, or, potential way of actually resolving that pain point that you're trying to solve. So I feel like it's a really healthy discussion. The question is, A, whether you can take this criticism and constructively and then use it to your advantage, and B, being able to start these conversations. And there's just a lot of intimidation. And it also, I feel like for a lot of founders, it feels like a hustle, because every subreddit has moderators, they have different rules about what you can and cannot post, and all of that stuff is just too much for people who especially are already overloaded on their time because they're busy building the company.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where we come in, because we know it to the T, and we can help you create and start these organic conversations and, start building that community. And I feel like the second biggest service is the foundation backlinks, because one thing we did is we've built a huge database of, trusted, blogs, publications. Some of them are niche, some of them are big. We have partners who do Forbes, PR releases if necessary, depending on your budget. But we can literally help you. We'll do all of the research and analytics for you. All you need from you is, to research your company, to research your product and service. What is your goal? What are you trying to achieve? And then we can go there and like, what's your budget? And we'll help you get there.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's a good also thing that a lot of founders like.
Yeah. So what stage is a business typically at when they come to you? Like we can say startup, but I guess a startup could be 2 months or 2 years,
Yeah.
So I guess what stage are most of them at, and what's the biggest challenges they're kind of facing when they come to you?
Yeah. So a lot of them are kind of on the launch. So they might have had like a limited launch or had their closed private beta, and now they want to do the bang because like they collected initial feedback, they did some twigging, and now they're ready to go out and like go public and
Yeah.
get all of that information out there. We do have sometimes bigger companies that we're seeing. We had a success story where one of our clients launched a dating website from scratch. When they came to us, they had zero traffic. They just built it. We set them up with our SEO process and like building that organic traffic engine, because it grows over time, right? That's kind of like a long-term investment. And then we also did the campaign on Reddit, and basically that's one of the biggest success stories, because their traffic went to over 300,000 per day and continuously growing. Yeah, and they got acquired.
Wow.
And literally this year, the company that acquired them came to us to do marketing for them. So it's kind of interesting, right? It's like they come to us on different stages. We also work with creators. So creator economy is a big thing that we've been tapped into for years. So all of those, musicians, comedians, people who do webinars, like anybody who's trying to create the content and get it out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, we also work a lot with them, and that kind of translates into another challenge, both for startups and creators. It's one thing to create awesome content, but the crucial part is actually also distributing it properly to get it in front of more people, right? So like that's where we also come in.
So
yeah.
is most all of your services strictly digital and technology based? Because obviously there's a whole world of marketing outside digital and technology. And I guess my follow-on question from that is, what kind of way do you see technology democratizing the ability for new startups to market themselves,
Yeah, we stick to digital. We are kind of exploring a few opportunities with our partners right now to offer strategy calls, because that is something that we're seeing sometimes is lacking with the entrepreneurs that come to us. They either lack the skill set or don't have the time, or like the expertise overall. So that's something that we're working on. How can we offer these services, or I guess even like book an hour with an expert to kind of answer a few of your questions for our existing clients. Like, we're always trying to become a partner and provide more value, because the more successful they become, the more we can work with them and take them to the next level as well, because our goal is to build out services and packages that fit startups on different stages of their life. Obviously they're different because their goals are different, but capturing them early on, making sure that they succeed, becoming that supporter, that's a sticky point for us as a business as well. And we love it because we know what they're about. We already know what worked for them, what succeeded. So it's like a no-brainer, right, to work together. And yeah, I think.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, just to finish answering question. And I think, yeah, like our approach is very, like, our services are very productized. We're kind of stepping away from the pure agency approach.
Yeah.
Which I also think is liberating, I would use that word, for entrepreneurs. Absolutely. Because you don't have to micromanage. You don't have to.
What does that look, sorry to jump in, but what does that look like for you? Because I think a lot of entrepreneurs are able to get to the stage where they have a service they provide, and they do that on a consultation or one-to-one basis. But I think the tricky part is actually productizing it. And I think maybe you can shed some light on it, but I think that's probably the hardest part, is figuring out how to productize it specifically for your business.
Definitely. So especially in marketing, right? Digital marketing, there's no one size fits all solution, right? So there is always going to be that factor of, you do need a constant connection with a client. You do need to be able to get feedback on what you're doing in order to succeed. But how to streamline that, and that's something we continuously work on. That's why we've built a platform, and all of our clients have a dashboard where they can see their current kind of services they can see the checklist, what has been done, where the progress is at. So they don't have to ping us and jump on a call with us to just quickly get an update, right? And also from the user kind of journey perspective, once we kind of have a initial call with you, we like to have calls with clients first to make sure that what they're thinking is going to be a great service for them, really is going to be a good fit. Because one thing we don't do, it's a big no-no in our company, is selling our services for the purpose of selling services.
Sure. Yeah.
So we always make sure that, hey, you want to do Reddit marketing, does it make sense? Are there valuable communities that are actually engaged enough to, become a good ROI on your investment into this marketing campaign? So from the client perspective, once we have that call and, we send a proposal, if everything's good, there's an invoice, and then it's all very automated. There is a very clear process for every service and a timeline. So you don't have to question whether, when will the Reddit campaign start? Oh, it's going to start 7 days after the invoice has been paid, because that's the time we take to do research and planning. And that, on the 7th day, you'll receive a draft for your approval. We can do edits. Once you clear the approval, it's going to be on weekly basis, and this is what's going to happen. So it's very clear and transparent for our clients, but it also kind of puts us in a position where we know exactly what our timelines are. And that also allows us, we literally have an ops person, amazing Sean, who does Six Sigma. He literally runs data and statistics for success metrics, for internal operations, for client facing experience. How can we always make it better, leaner, faster? You know, what is the success in that case? And it's a lot of work. Ask him so many numbers.
I can
But
imagine.
but at the same time, that's what I feel like defines our approach at Soar, like becoming this very lean, focused on execution and success for our clients, and kind of seamless process in their eyes, but also them feeling in control at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it, because people will look for they want that certainty, I guess, of the structure and what they're going to get for it, especially if they're not going to have someone one-on-one the whole time, you know? So I think that's you've kind of laid out the process pretty nicely for someone who would want to like take that template and apply it to their own business. So thank you for breaking it down. So what's been your kind of main approach to growth with Soar so far yourselves as a business? And I mean, maybe you could shed some light on what's worked and what has not worked, or any insights for others who might be kind of at that early stage of growing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're ourselves sort of a startup. You know, we're a small business, right? Kind of innovative. We've never taken outside funding, so we highly depend on, you know, the revenue that we bring in. But we experience the same growth pains, you know, like right now our Reddit team is nearly at capacity because we have so many clients, you know, super actively coming in December and now January. So like, okay, we need to expand that team.
Yeah.
But then business wise, we sit down, okay, how can we do it without breaking all these processes, right? So, you know, we're brainstorming on a pod system for our sub teams. How many people should be in every team? What kind of team lead? How many people can he manage or she manage? Like, to make sure that we still sustain that level of success that we set. So there are a lot of kind of uncertainty there, but at the same time, it's an interesting challenge that we actively are working in January and like next month to figure out a pathway for every service. What is the really lean but structured way to actually scale them and scale our team while being mindful of our budget, obviously. Yeah.
That's
and
the
then
tightrope walk, I guess.
Yep.
Isn't it?
Yep, definitely. And we all have the same issue that we face, right? And then yeah, I feel like in 2020 we grew insanely, not just because I feel like we got lucky with the COVID situation, because everybody had to turn to digital.
Yeah.
And it became even more noise and even more bidding for keywords. You know, it's like it all trickles down. So we had a lot of kind of interest coming in because everybody wanted to try it out and see if it's going to work for them as an alternative route, which was cool. And we sustained that, and then we started building partnerships, and I feel like that's a big thing that we really loved and still loving and continue doing. Because finding relevant partners that you can trust, you might not always be able to send each other, you know, revenue in terms of, you know, possible client leads. And with a lot of our partners, we don't even have kind of an agreement where, oh, you know, if you bring us a client, we'll give you X percentage, right? It's more of like, how can we help each other grow as a ecosystem while we trust each other because we verify every single one of them.
Sure.
And then, you know, now we come back, some of them come back to us with new business ideas. And they're like, hey, we see a clear intersection between, you know, our program to launching startups. And, you know, once they hit growth, they need a partner like you. So now we're seeing all these intersections, and we're starting to get into a really truly engaged ecosystem which is exciting, right? I just had a call earlier today with an accelerator, fintech accelerator outside the US who really wants to kind of explore partnership as well, which is
Hmm.
also cool. So that's something that's been working really well in terms of, hey, we can exchange services in kind and add value to our clients,
Yeah.
and help you grow. Or there's some other ways we can collaborate or redirect, exchange, some sort of connections and introductions. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's been really nice, and I feel like it's also um, it mirrors the reality that we're in. I feel like one
Hmm.
thing about COVID in 2020, aside from all the mess and lemons that we're seeing
Hmm.
and squeezing, right? I feel like a lot of people, especially true entrepreneurs who are in it for passion of entrepreneurship,
Hmm.
really tightened up as a community. And this whole pay it forward and help each other out
Hmm.
became a much more, I guess, widespread thing
Yeah.
than I've seen before.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's a great point. And I'm sure as it kind of leads into my next question as well a little bit, which is nice. But I'm sure you've seen a bit of this. You've seen that clearly, like from working with other partners and from working and liaising with other businesses. But what I was going to follow that up with was, what are some of the maybe like larger trends that you're seeing within marketing online? And you mentioned obviously like the pay it forward kind of aspect is one thing, but is there anything else you're seeing in terms of like larger trends for marketing, maybe startups in particular, or just in general, that you're trying to capitalize on as well?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like overall the shifts that we're seeing in the marketing in digital marketing, right? And that's something I feel like we've seen before, in the past few years, and
Hmm.
experts obviously talked about it, is the shift towards community building. We definitely are seeing that, but I also feel like in 2020 we hit that peak where everybody and their mama has a community.
Hmm.
And to be honest, how many communities can you be in? And I
Yeah.
also saw a lot of these, especially big communities, once they reach like a really like in thousands
Yeah.
of users, a lot of them seem to die out. And it's always like you ask for help or you ask for feedback, but there is no response. So
Hmm.
the community loses value for the members, right?
Hmm.
So there's obviously an opportunity there. How do you fix it? Um, then what you're left with is, you know, kind of a really cool CEO or founder who has a
Hmm.
Twitter and,
Yeah.
tries to grow, try to use the personal approach, to grow the following and like drive traffic to the business, which is also something we've seen in the past years, a lot of people use and succeed in it. Um, but now I feel like we're also seeing kind of, did we hit a cap there as well? Because now everything is so much more filtered, and a lot of
Hmm.
people are afraid to actually say what they think because
Hmm.
there's so much more backlash and cancel culture. And like, I agree with it in some levels, but at the same time, I feel like people tend to
Yeah.
overreact in some cases. So that also brings a halt to it, right? And I'm actually curious to see, like, I feel so old for saying this, but like, goddamn TikTok, I'm not on it, never gonna join, but like that's where we're going, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then the Clubhouse that, just blowing up,
Hmm.
especially in Silicon Valley, with like all of these actual like screw the content in terms of posts and blogs and all of that stuff. It's
Yeah.
all live conversations, which I
Yeah.
feel like is interesting. I'll be interested to see where it goes.
Definitely. I think it kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like this trend of micro content. Well, TikTok is the perfect example just of content that is served up in such a fast paced manner, and you can just flick through it so quickly. And obviously, it's the polar opposite to that longer form blog post or long form video, like you said. So I don't know. I think it's very easy to get addicted to just keeping that classic dopamine hit of the short bursts. So it'll be interesting to see if we do swing back again towards more longer form stuff, and what that will look like as well.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I mean, I feel like we're at that break point in especially digital marketing and like social media and community building, where we're now seeing so much saturation and people are just so tired. Like, how many Slack groups can one be in
Yeah.
and actually pay attention, right? Like, how many Telegram chats, how
Yeah.
many Facebook groups, and all of that
Totally.
stuff. Yeah.
Community building is hard. I mean, it's a lot of work to try and manage or build something, even just like a Slack group, and to keep people involved or to keep people wanting to keep coming back for more and contributing is extremely tough. And I think um, it's yeah, there's probably far more than are necessary. So, like you said, the only the best will survive. But
Hmm.
um, I think people are looking for alternative strategies and coming to places like Soar to figure that out, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
So
Yeah,
what
definitely.
what is it, I guess, that hooked you on marketing, and what do you love most about what you're doing now at Soar?
Honestly, I hate marketing, and I feel
Okay,
like that's
okay.
why I hope I don't get fired for that, but no, they know. Because it's always been such a challenge, there's so many platforms,
Yeah.
they all require you to act differently, and then no matter how much, you post and try to engage, majority of your posts and endeavors are going to go unnoticed, and that creates frustration, you know again, I've read so many guides and so many how-to videos and like all of these experts talking about it, and yet, you can follow their advice to the T and still see nothing, because again, how much noise can one really break through on their
Mhm.
own?
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's like, and also how much time can you spend on it? Like,
Mhm.
I can't sit for 6 hours in front of my laptop to check every single platform for like
Mhm.
an hour to respond to every comment, which is what they're telling you should basically do.
Mhm.
um Especially when you have a limited team and so many other goals that you have to
For
hit
sure.
on. Um so yeah, that was kind of one thing, but that also made me challenge myself, because I was like, but if I join this team, because I love the team, I love the culture, I love the innovative approach that they took to marketing, and kind
Mhm.
of, not agency, but more of an automated platform to the extent possible. And I'm like, this is challenging. This is really new. I love that they're going for the overlooked channels. Nobody really thinks of Reddit immediately when they think about marketing,
Mhm.
uh, for example. And I was like, this is cool. I see an opportunity there. Like, might be a flop, but clearly they've been around for a few years and they're continuously growing. So that was interesting. And I'm a type of person who, I feel like I'm stagnating if I'm not learning new skills or learning something new and not challenging myself. Like, and I'm really get frustrated about it because I feel like I'm wasting my time.
Mhm.
So that was one thing, because when I was joining them, I actually got an offer from JP Morgan and I got an offer from the small startup
Yeah.
basically. And I ended up going with the startup because I was like, this is where I'm at. This is where my passion is. I get to help entrepreneurs, our clients, right?
Mhm.
I get to develop new services. I get to use my network to help them achieve kind of their goals, and maybe find ways to work together. And I get to actually learn from my team on things that I have no idea about, which is really cool as well. So like,
Mhm.
I better understand a lot of sides of marketing now compared to
Yeah.
before. So that's also interesting. And I'm like, this is win-win. Why not?
Mhm. Absolutely. So I have to ask as well, just about lessons learned, I guess, from not just SOAR, but from your own entrepreneurial and business experience that you could maybe impart for others who either want to start building something or are at that early stage. Is there anything that you had to learn the hard way, or something you learned that you said, oh, I thought it was going to be something completely different and it turned out otherwise, you know?
Yeah, no, there's tons of lessons there. But yeah, I guess like one of the biggest ones are work with the right people.
Mhm.
You can't force some relationships. If you can't laugh together, you definitely should not be working together, especially
Mhm.
in a startup space where it's
Yeah.
so stressful, like you can't get on each other's nerves, right? And then also hiring people for really good skills. And that's why I love the remote culture that we're now booming in. It's because it doesn't limit you locally, right? You don't just have to choose from what's available within your immediate proximity. You actually can work with talent that's all the way on the other end of the world, but those people are amazing, on so many levels, from, culture fit for the company and the team, to skill set, to drive, to hunger, like that it's amazing. That's one thing that I keep being shocked in a good way at Soar. I'm like, oh my God, like every single time they level it up, and that's what makes you or breaks you, because your team and your people are your biggest assets in any business that you're building. You have to be able to trust each other. You all have to be hungry enough to kind of move as one unit. And if you look at Soar website, it's very space oriented and astronaut oriented, and we'll literally laugh and, oh, captain, my captain, to our CEO, and
Okay,
we are a Soar space crew, and join our spaceship. It's funny and kind of silly, but at the same time it creates this unity.
Yeah.
We love playing Among Us because it's about space and fixing spaceship. That's our happy hour game. But yeah, so like making sure that you're building the right team, but also I feel like making sure that you're building the right product. And I feel like that's a big, we all think we know that what the customer wants or what's the great solution is. And I feel like that's a beat up, lesson, but yet we all make that same mistake over and over again. It's like being able to talk to, not just like, a lot of us are talking to the market and target audience, but are we really listening? And I feel like that's like knowing how to collect that feedback, knowing how to process it properly and translate it into your product or service. That's the key part, without kind of losing the perspective of your target market and client versus your perspective as an entrepreneur. And the third big lesson, and that will be a quote from an entrepreneur I interviewed once.
Yeah, go for it.
As a founder, you're actually building two products. First is a product or service that you're selling to your customers. And the second is you're building a company that you're selling to investors. And I feel like here, yep, that's why I really love it. And I keep quoting him. And I'm like, yes, because we get so focused on building that first product or service that we're selling to the our customers, that we completely forget that we also need to build a business that has a solid base. And I'm not just talking about having your ducks in a row with like founder agreements and your cap table and all of that stuff, but also having it's boring for a majority of entrepreneurs, I get it, but you need to do your financials, you need to have pulse, you need to have realistic expectations on your revenue, on your expenses, on your runway. And I feel like a lot of us dropping it, just, oh, we'll just guesstimate. Yeah, that sounds good, and then you keep running with it, but then, it will catch up with you. It'll catch up with you and bite you in the butt. So how do you keep
I would even
pulse?
add, I love that quote, by the way. I hadn't heard it before. And I would even add like employees to that, like the team. And I think you alluded to it slightly with the founders, but creating a business or an environment that people are going to be attracted to for
Definitely
wanting to work with you, and crafting a vision or a narrative within your team to attract the type of people that ultimately are bought into what you're building. And I think it sounds like you're kind of doing that with some of the stuff you said at Soar already, but I think that was a great quote.
Yeah, no, that was a really great quote. I'm like, this is genius. I'm going to repeat it every time I talk about entrepreneurship.
Absolutely. Cool. Well, look, what can we expect next from you and from the Soar team over the next few months? What's on the roadmap for the next few months of 2021?
Yeah, we're doing a lot of work right now. We are doing a lot of cleanup. Yeah, we decided to start the year with a clean slate and basically clean everything up, make sure we have SOPs for everything, there's process is clear, the success metrics are clear, that anybody who we add to the team, because we're expecting to grow this year and add to our team, to make that transition for new employees very smooth and very structured in a way. Hey, there's an answer for any question that you have, and it's right here. So there are no blockers, because creating and cleaning it up and creating that solid base for everything, including, finances and including, accounting and taxes and legal, figuring all of that out, sets you up for success. Because we have a huge map of new services that we want to launch out this year, for idea stage entrepreneurs, for later stage businesses, even like tailored, solutions for content creators. But we can't do it unless what we have right now is all buttoned up to the T. And, it's all super, super clear and clean.
Yeah.
So that's what we're focusing on for the next at least quarter, maybe quarter and a half. And then it's going to be testing and launching new services, and kind of, figuring out where we're right in our assumptions, talking to our clients, getting feedback. So it's a lot of growing, I guess, and growing up, because I kept telling them, we're cleaning up because we're growing up. We need to start adulting.
It's a good problem to have. So it could be a lot worse, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm like, no, let's get our ducks in a row. Then we can start playing around again and innovating around what we can actually offer. So that's kind of where we at.
Fantastic. Cool. Well, Catherine, thank you so much for joining us. If people want to find out more about Soar, they can visit Soar.sh. And if they want to reach out to you, I'm sure they can find you at Catherine Yushina on LinkedIn, or I'm not sure if you use Twitter, but
I am on Twitter, but I never look at my notifications.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Well, look, the very best of luck with everything, personally and business wise. And thank you very much for coming on to share all your marketing and operations wisdom.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for having me. This was really good. A lot of self-reflection too.
Yeah, exactly. A nice checkpoint for where you're at. So thanks
Definitely.
very much. It was a pleasure to have you, and we'll chat again soon.
Yep, sounds great. Thank you.
Awesome.